What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mac and Smitty show, episode number 6. And E, we're coming off a 4th of July holiday, man. What'd you and the fam do?
Man, we were down in Charleston, and it was a ton of fun. What's interesting, I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit here. Usually, guys, we try to record these, have them in the bank, do whatever. We're recording this the day before, so this is live. This is real
baby.
Fun.
Turn and burn.
You're getting recent events and current events, as we hit them here. But, yeah, it was a good time, man. It's always fun to go down to Charleston. Got to lift with my brother Cannon.
Come on.
Which is always great. Got to go over to his dojo.
Saw a couple deadlift PRs happening.
Yeah, listen, here's the deal, which was great by him. Big shout out. I was very proud of him because he kind of hit me with the, I don't know. I said, well, if you don't put that weight on
Come
right
on,
now
man. Try to see some fireworks.
And then he made it happen. I mean, we could have went up another 5 pounds or so, but I get it, PR.
Conservative.
With it.
You got to save some room.
Conservative. And here's the deal. I thought that we had enough weights there, and then we get to 405, and I'm just a casual 500, which felt very heavy. Felt terrible. And I'm like, yo, I need another 45. Why am I having to put all these weights on? So I'm going to have to start a GoFundMe so we can get 2 more 45s. For the
there we go. You don't have to go take it from the local YMCA.
Yeah, man, that's a good idea. Or just like call around the neighborhood. Hey, anybody got any plates? Can we borrow? Not paper plates, real plates, man.
Oh, man.
So it was good. It was a big time.
Good.
We got to do that whole song and dance. And
yes, sir.
Amelia loves going down there too. It was a big time. How about you? I saw you playing some cornhole.
Cornhole, baby.
You were kicking some tail out.
I wish I could say I was the cornhole champ, undefeated, but played 2 games, won 1. But I'm gonna blame it on the brand new cornhole boards. They're pretty slick. Need some 20 grit sandpaper, rough them up a little bit. And because back in the day, me and Craig had cornhole boards in the apartment living room. So we wake up, brush your teeth, play a couple games. Man, I'm just out of my prime. So not in my prime anymore, but it's all good. It's all good. That's why we have this show to kind of hone our skills on what we're actually good at. So
that's right.
That's right. Our next guest, Coach Adam Smotherman from University of Virginia. And E, you guys go way back actually. So funny story there.
It really is. It's so funny how our careers really have been intertwined the entire time. So I get to Clemson as a tight end in 2011. He gets to Clemson as his first GA as a strength coach. And then, he went to Furman for a year, got an assistant coaching job very quickly. And then within a year, Coach B brings him right back and brings him to the program. He was at Clemson for 9 years and then got the head job at Virginia with Coach Elliott, there as the head football coach. So we talk about all that. I love this guy so much. This was a really fun conversation. You guys are going to absolutely love it. Let's get right to it. Coach Smo, great to see you, brother. We were just kind of chopping it up a little bit here and talking about how we've known each other for so long. It goes all the way back to 2011 and been a kind of a part of each other's journeys. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but it's summertime. It's the last stretch, before fall camp, and 4th of July just happened, man. What'd you guys have going on? The family get some fun fireworks, good food?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we took a little beach trip and got some fireworks and some seafood, and kind of got the battery recharged and ready to go for this final push. Got 3 weeks of training remaining until we get into fall camp. So this is it's a pretty important time, getting our team ready. And so they had their final discretionary week and kind of got their batteries recharged too. And they came back this morning ready to roll.
Good. Coach, what are these next 3 weeks looking like for you guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, man, the big thing is our biggest thing as we get toward the latter part of summer is making sure that we have our guys ready to go for fall camp. One of the things that we talk about is, we are preparation coaches. Our job, and I got that from Coach B. I was trained by Coach B, so that's one thing he always talked about, and I've carried here is we're preparation coaches. Our job is to prepare these guys for what's next, and what's next for them is fall camp. And so, we utilize a lot of technology, Catapult, and some different technologies like that to make sure that we're hitting the loads we need to hit, and that our guys are specifically prepared for the demands of fall camp. So, kind of the old days of, going out and running just to get tired and hot and those things, those are kind of over. It's obviously they get tired and they get hot. but it's specific, getting ready for what's to come in fall camp. So we start to get really specific to the demands of each position as well. Our big guys, they need to push people around over and over again, so we got to train them to do that. Our what we call our speed guys, they got to be able to run. They got to be able to run fast, and they got to be able to do it all day. So specifically getting them ready for that, and then just the other nuances and demands of each position. We gotta make sure that these guys, when we hand them off to the position coaches, they are bigger and faster and stronger and more durable and better prepared than they were when we got them.
No question. And there's a ton of different places we're going to go today, Coach, but I do just kind of want to piggyback what you just said there, because I think that is the most fascinating part, because you have a very difficult job in the sense of, as a strength coach, you should make me stronger. You should make me faster. But you also have to make sure I'm in the best football shape and ready to go health-wise. How do you focus on that? Or how do you, I guess, deal with the want to go really, really hard, but also let's be smart in training? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is relationships and communication. I think that if you haven't put in the groundwork, on the front end and then daily going forward to build great relationships with your players and to be able to have communication and conversation, and for them to trust that what coach is telling me is real and it's right, and I need to listen to him, then you're probably not going to have a chance. And so I think it starts with relationships and just continual communication, and making sure that guys understand, one, from a tangible data standpoint, this is what things are looking like, this is where we need to get, this is where we are now, or hey man, this is where we need to get, and we're kind of overshooting that a little bit with extra work that you're putting in, so we need to pull back a little bit. Just having that ongoing communication. And then from a programming standpoint, you kind of alluded to it there. There's a lot of different things that we want to hit, and it's really, really tough, if not dang near impossible, to get everything to peak at the same time. So it's you can't really peak your top velocity and your max strength and your max power and your conditioning and all these things at the same exact time. So you got to look at your overall summer. So, okay, this is the point that we need to get to. We need to get ready for football. And then along the way, these are the kind of testing metrics that we want to hit and make sure that our guys are in a good spot to number one, be healthy. That's the most important thing. The best ability is availability. So the best quality that we can build and that our guys can build in themselves is durability. And then along those lines, you figure out, all right, hey, this is going to be our best time to test our vertical jump. This is going to be the best time to test our fly tens. This is going to be the best time to test, our power cleans or whatever it is. So we kind of hit it as we go, rather than having a true kind of test day where we hit everything at once. And that's been successful for us. And it's been a good system for us. But yeah, ultimately the biggest thing is, man, we got to go to fall camp, and we got to be durable, and we got to be in great shape, and we gotta hit the ground running and play some football.
Now, Coach, I know you said communication and relationships. Now, in your position as the head coach, do you have a specific group of players that you work with in the weight room, or are you kind of a floater and entrust the oversight to the rest of your staff?
Yeah, so really both. So the way we've got 5 full-time strength and conditioning coaches for football, including myself. And so each coach has positional responsibilities. So primarily I'm hands-on with the quarterbacks. I take those guys and we get after it, man. We have a good time and train hard. And then that allows me also to float around and work with everybody.
Is that boring? Not to cut you off. Is that boring? Like,
No,
what are you
I
guys
love it.
doing? A bunch of bands and a bunch of 5-pound dumbbells? What do you
Heck
think?
no, man. I train those guys
Come on.
hard. They rip.
I'm just kidding.
Our quarterbacks rip power cleans. They freaking squat. We press. We get after it. And obviously we do some more, arm care and kind of, QB specific type things. But no, they move weight and they love it. They attack it. They freaking get after it, and it is awesome. But with those guys, with having a smaller group that I'm more hands-on with and specific with, that allows me to float around and work with everybody, which is important to me. I want to, I don't want it. I've never wanted it to be a situation where it's, man, I've never been coached by the head strength coach. And so I make sure that I'm in there with everybody. And then my staff does a phenomenal job. We've got Will Harrison, we've got Austin Kegler, we've got Gavin Rush, we've got Trey Thomas, and they've each got positional responsibilities, and they do a phenomenal job of leading their guys and programming some specific things for them and managing the weight that's on the bar and the velocity of the bar and each guy's recovery and body weight, all those things. They do a really, really good job. But yeah, I take the quarterbacks and we get after it.
I love that, man. You've always liked to be around quarterbacks, being a defensive lineman.
Exactly.
Back in the day, you're comfortable around those guys and in that space. I want to kind of double down here before we kind of jump to, you specifically, your journey, things of that nature. In this new world that we're in, the transfer portal is a new tool. It's a crazy thing. However you want to look at it, people look at it differently. But for you guys specifically, how has that been for you as a strength coach when a guy might come in and you have a quarterback there, and Chandler Morris, who back when I remember him, he was, this little kid running around the facility. Now he's a grown man and he's a senior, right? He's there for a couple of months, and it's your job to try to get him as best as he can in that couple of months. How strange, I guess, has that been? And there's other versions of the portal. You might get a guy for 4 years or 3 years, whatever. But when you have these kind of month guys, how different is that? What's the process when you get them in? Like it's very unique, it seems to me.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. I would say first and foremost, everything that we do, every aspect of our program, it starts and it ends with Coach Elliott. Coach Elliott is an unbelievable head coach, does a phenomenal job. And one of his big emphasis since we got here is he brings in really good people. They're good football players. They're really good football players. They're hard workers, but they have great character. And that makes my job so much easier because, one, Coach Elliott has hired an unbelievable staff of human beings that do a great job of vetting character and making sure that we have hard-working, unbelievable human beings to work with. So that's the foundation of it all. And then from there, it goes back to what we talked about, relationships and communication. And so, kind of one of the biggest things is, all right, if we've only got this guy for half a year, or 10 months, 11 months, 12 months, whatever it is, man, we got to build the strongest relationship we can as fast as we can and make sure that we're building that daily. You don't always have 3 to 5 years to build a relationship with a guy anymore. You still have that because we still obviously are doing a great job with high school recruiting and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you got to build an unbelievable relationship and get this guy to trust, what we're doing. And for me, that starts in the recruiting process. Obviously, I don't go on the road and things like that, but I try to do a really good job of talking to every single recruit that walks in the door and making sure that I give them a presentation. I don't try to put it off on somebody else and my staff. We want to make sure that we are in front of every recruit. And if their family comes with them, making sure that we're in front of their family. And I lay out what we do. We lay out what we do, and this is what our training program looks like. This is how, we make sure that we are helping to build Coach Elliott's vision for our program, which is to be the model program in college football. And this is how we're helping put feet and hands to that from a strength conditioning standpoint. And as you guys know, I mean, strength coaches, we spend the most time with our players than really anybody in the program. And so one thing we talk about is, hey, we're kind of the guardians of the culture in a sense, because we spend so much time with these guys. And so I want to make sure that I'm with these guys on the front end from the time they come on their visit, because if they're going to come be a part of our culture, I need to make sure that I'm getting to know them and that I'm helping them fully understand the decision that they're making. This is how we train. This is what we do. This is what our program looks like. And our football coaches do a phenomenal job of that as well, really every department within our program. But then from there, the time they commit, man, we're in communication and we're building that relationship and I'm getting information from them. Our sports med staff does a really, really good job of, our medical evaluations when guys get here and we're getting information from guys on their previous their training history and things of that nature, so that we have the most full picture we can before we ever start working with our guys. And then, we do movement screens with our guys when they get here, because I want to see everything from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. Wow. And I want to make sure that, joints that are supposed to bend well, and joints that are supposed to stabilize well. And then we'll start progressing through our program at that point. I'm not bringing guys in day one and putting 500 pounds on the bar and see if they can squat it. Most of them can, and they can do it really fast, but we're not doing that out the gate because I think ultimately, we're not the we're not the end game. The end game is not setting records in the weight room. The end game is making sure that these guys, like we said at the beginning, can get to the football field durable and healthy and do what they love to do, and that we can all, through this process of training, continue to buy in to this common mission of what we're doing. And our mission of our program is to build champion men. So that's ultimately the most important thing that we're trying to do, and win a whole lot of ball games along the way. And so ultimately our job is to make sure that we can do that. And so it starts with our coaching staff bringing the right guys in, and then building unbelievable relationships with them, and communicating well, and then making sure that we give them everything they need to be the best they can be every day.
Now, Coach, earlier this summer, you were awarded the Master Strength and Conditioning Coach Award. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
There's only 265 individuals to receive such a certification. Just tell us, what that means to you as a coach, and what it was like to receive such a high accolade.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
First and foremost is humbling. I mean, that's the most important thing, because I remember, when I was a college football player, and had aspirations of being a collegiate strength and conditioning coach. I had unbelievable coaches. John Sisk was my head strength coach at Vanderbilt, played for him. He was longtime Vanderbilt. He was at Georgia Tech for a long time, Georgia State for a while. He's been a great mentor for me. But I remember watching him every day and just saying, and his staff, and just saying, man, I want to do that. This is what I want to do. I want to have the kind of impact that he's had on my life. And so, he helped me kind of get in the business. And I remember when I first, I interned for Dwight Galt at Vanderbilt, and then Coach Batson hired me as a graduate assistant.
Yeah.
Coach Batson hired me as a GA at Clemson in 2011. Young Mac walked in the door there and started building that big body, but that's a different story. But anyway, so I was a young GA, and I remember, seeing, some of these certifications on the wall. I remember looking at Coach Batson's wall and seeing Master Strength Conditioning Coach, and I was like, man, Coach, what is that? And he kind of told me what the deal was. You got to be full-time for 12 years at the time of the conference, and all these things. You got to be certified, all these things you got to do. And I remember sitting there, I was like, man, so your GA years and your intern years don't count. Like, it starts when you're full-time. And so I was there for a year, and then David Abernathy hired me at Furman University, my first full-time job. And I didn't get hired till June, and the conference is in May, so that year didn't count.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so I remember thinking, I remember sitting there thinking, like, man, I'll have an opportunity to get the Master Strength Coach certification in 2025. Like, that seems like so far away. And now it's here, and I'm like, dude, where is the time gone?
Yeah.
So, but it's a really cool honor, because, I mean, just, one, for the Lord to bless me with this career, and the opportunities that I've had, the relationships I've been able to be, a part of, and the teams I've been able to be a part of, and the opportunity to impact lives every day, and to wear t-shirt and shorts to work every day and get paid to do it. It's a pretty good deal, man. I love it. And it's just a cool thing to, walk in every day and look at your wall and see that. And it makes you really thankful for the people in your life and the opportunities that you've had. And I think that's the biggest thing. And it's also a great responsibility too, because, talk about when you're, when people expect something of you, that's a good thing. And so when people see, okay, this guy's a Master Strength Conditioning Coach, like that, okay, he's expected to know what he's talking about. And so it's kind of a responsibility and an accountability to yourself to make sure you stay on top of stuff. And kind of the old phrase, one of the most dangerous phrases is, this is the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a responsibility and an accountability to yourself to make sure that you're constantly researching and studying and finding the best ways to do things. And shoot, man, if there's a better way to do it, I want to know about it. And having the humility to make changes when you need to in your programming, all those things. I think it just, all those things are kind of encapsulated in that. For me, it's more of a humbling reminder every day of what I've been a part of, and what I get to do every day.
Man, there's so much in there. Go ahead. There's so much in there.
Now, I was going to say, I think it's great that, you're looking at this high level of achievement as a building block, not like, okay, cool, I've received the certification, let me just kick my feet up. But it's like, no, there's an expectation on me now. Let me keep researching and just, continuing to build and grow my knowledge to, of course, continue to further make an impact on these individuals. So I love
Absolutely.
that perspective.
I appreciate it. That's what it's all about. And, ultimately, what I want to do every day is I want to make Coach Elliott look like a genius for hiring me. I mean, ultimately,
That's right.
that's what it's all about. And not to say that I'm perfect or that I'm ever going to be perfect. I make mistakes every day. We all do. But, it's a reminder to me that, he put his name on me and he brought me here, and he picked me to help him build this program. And so I want to make him look like a genius for hiring me.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's dive into that, because again, there were so many different things that you said there, and it's fun to hear these stories. But you were at Clemson a long time. You were there for 9 years, and Coach Elliott, as well. Two guys that had grown up, learned, and developed, and became men in that program. Similarly to myself, and then he gets an opportunity, and his name had floated around a lot, right? Like there were a lot of different things, and him choosing Virginia and wanting to go there, and then bring you with them. What was that like for you? Was it immediate? Because strength coach is a big deal. You got to know that. It's a very important role. How long did it take, I guess, to find out? And just what was that conversation like with him? And then for your wife and your family, because you're not just moving you're moving a lot of other people with you. And that's it's a hard place to leave. I get it, but you're running your own program, and we'll dive into that too. So what were those conversations like?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was very blessed to be his first hire. And,
that's what you got to do, man. You got to go get the strength coach immediately.
Yeah, no doubt.
Immediately.
And I'm thankful, man, because he, when he got the opportunity, obviously he had been in touch with me that it was looking like, there was going to be potential opportunity, and we're talking and everything. And I remember him hitting me up and say, "Hey, we got it. Like, it's Virginia. Let's roll." And, man, I was fired up. And obviously, my wife and I had these conversations already. It wasn't going to spring anything like that on her,
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
How's Charlottesville sound?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. So speaking of that, basically it was a sight unseen type thing. The only time I had ever been here before was a road game in 2013.
Played. Yeah.
And so it was, and I remember even, that was what, 9 years before taking this job. I even remember thinking, like, on that road game, man, this place is beautiful.
Yeah.
And obviously you're never thinking, we can't dream big enough. We got to let God dream through us. But your mind's not even there, but you just remember thinking, like, this is a beautiful place. Like, this is cool, man. There's mountains everywhere. And,
right.
and so then, really cool thing there. And so, basically, he got the job, and I was in the car the next day and heading here. And because I've known him, this will be my 14th season working with Coach Elliott. And so, really cool opportunity to, just to watch him over the years and to get to know him and to work for him and to be trusted by him and to help him build this program. And but it is one of those deals where it's like, man, you kind of look years ago, like, man, if that guy's ever a head coach, shoot, I'd love to work for him, because he's about the right stuff. He's an unbelievable husband, an unbelievable dad. He's a great, unbelievable mentor of young men. He does it for the right reasons. The mission of our program is to build champion men. And so he brought that in day one. And the vision of our program is to be the model program in college football in everything that we do. And so to align under a vision and a mission and him leading the charge, unbelievable. And just a great opportunity every day to work for him. And so it's been a really cool journey. We're going into year 4 here, which is crazy, man. Time is flying by. But it's a whole lot of fun. I'm really excited for what we're building here.
Now, Coach, you mentioned, you told us a little bit about your journey through strength and conditioning, but knowing that you played football at Vanderbilt as well, at what point during your college football career did you kind of switch gears and kind of be like, football is great, but I do want to, pursue the strength and conditioning thing? Yeah.
So, I knew that I wanted to pursue strength and conditioning. When I first got to college, I majored in education and history. My plan was to be a high school teacher and coach. And which is, awesome. My high school coaches were, they poured into me, and I have so much respect for them. They're unbelievable. But as I went through, I always loved training. I always loved it. I've got 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters as well, but my older brothers, both in the military. One did powerlifting and mixed martial arts. The other one was a wrestler. And, so
I'm sure
I
that
didn't
was
have a
fun
chance.
growing up.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have a chance, man. I was born to be a meathead. There's no doubt about it. And I remember, man, I got a Joe Weider bench press set for Christmas when I was 11 or 12.
Come on.
And a poster of Ronnie Coleman, the old bodybuilder, if you remember him.
Lightweight baby.
So, man, that poster went up on the wall. I said, I'm going to look like Ronnie.
Come on.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes, sir.
And just grew up, man, obviously playing sports and watching every sport you can imagine. My family and I, man, we would watch reruns of the World's Strongest Man competition and
Let's go.
Stuff like that. I just loved it, man. I was just
Right.
eat up with it. So I always had a passion for it. And I didn't really know that a strength coach was a job, until I got to college. I'm like, man, that's pretty
This
cool.
is amazing.
Right.
Yeah, this is awesome. And so I told my strength coach at Vanderbilt, John Sisk, and his staff, Gabe Teeple and Curtis Turner, and I told them, I want to do what you guys do. And so they did a phenomenal job. They started pouring into me and giving me, articles to read and, recommended books and just all these things. And man, I remember my last semester of college, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? They're like, well, you need to get certified. And so I open up the certification book, which is like that thick, for the first time. And I'm like, oh crap.
Now what? Now what are we going to do?
Yeah. So just started studying and I was going to take football as far as I could go with it, and try to pursue that dream. And cause I was 240, 245 when I got to college. They put me at 3 technique. And so I basically just got a license to lift and eat, much like Big Mac's journey there.
That's
just
right.
to go get thick.
It's a great license to have. It's a little dangerous, but it's a great license to have.
Oh, it's a great lifestyle. And so, I ended up being 300 pounds and loved it. And so, man, I was going to take football as far as I could go with it. And actually ended up tearing my ACL twice my 5th year. Tore it in spring ball, rehabbed, missed the first 5 games, played games 6, 7, and 8, and tore it again. And so that kind of effectively started my coaching career earlier than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But you just look at, how God works things out, because I got hired. Coach Batson hired me as a GA at Clemson in May. I started in May of 2011. If I had not gotten hurt and tried to pursue football, I probably would have had to turn that GA opportunity down. And so I wouldn't have ended up there. And then my wife's cousin played soccer at Vanderbilt, married one of my teammates, and they ended up getting married in the fall of 2011. And he asked me to be a groomsman. I'm like, dude, I'm starting a job. Like, I can't ask for a game weekend off when I'm a GA. I'm gonna get fired before I ever start. And their wedding happened to be on the bye weekend that year.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up meeting my wife, and we started dating. And now
That's when you met her, at that wedding.
Yeah, we met through that. We met
Wow.
the first time at the engagement party, but then we ended up
Man.
dating after that. And now we got, we've been married for 11 years and we got 2 kids, and
Wow.
it's awesome. So
That's awesome.
God works things out,
God's got his plan, man.
For
We don't know
real.
what it is, and we have our
Exactly.
plan, and he just laughs at it. And he says, just sit back. Just sit back. I got you.
just sit back and just work hard, put your head down, have faith, and everything's going to work out like it's supposed to. And when I'm laying there on the field getting a Locksman test and ACL's torn, you think in that moment, man, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward 15 years, and it's like, man, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Might have been the
exactly.
best. Isn't that
Yeah,
great?
ain't seen nothing yet.
Perspective. Yeah, perspective is just, it's so unbelievable. And you mentioned, the foundation that you had leading into this head job is just tremendous. Your guys at Vanderbilt, and then being around Coach B for so long. I just have to imagine that they got you so ready that it was just a matter of time. So what I guess was that transition like? Because it seemed pretty quick. You went from intern to GA to full-time at Furman to full-time back at Clemson very quickly. And then, had the 8-9 years of learning and crafting and, making sure you were ready. But then when that moment came, I guess just leading into it, when you got to your office that next day after the call and you sat down, you're like, okay, here we go. This is my show. What was that like for you?
Yeah, man, really cool opportunity. Something that I had always dreamed of, but didn't want to be in a hurry, always wanted to just kind of be the best I could be where I was, bloom where you planted, something I always talked about. And I knew that God would provide the right opportunity when it was time. And so kind of my my focus was, man, I'm going to put my head down and, serve the staff and the players as best I can. And serve Coach Batson and Coach Sweeney when I was there, and the players, and when the right opportunity comes, it'll come. So then, when I got here, man, I'll be honest, I walked in the office for the first time and kind of sat down, walked in the weight room and sat down and just kind of, shed a few tears, to be honest, because it was just a really cool moment for me. And I remember, our first game in 2022, walking out on the field in Scott Stadium and just kind of smelling the grass and taking it all in, and shed a few tears there too, because it's a great responsibility that I don't take lightly every day. That, man, I'm responsible for putting feet and hands to the head coach's vision. I'm responsible for the hearts and souls and bodies of these young men, and I'm responsible for my staff, and I'm responsible to make sure that I represent my family the right way. And just, some people may look at that as a heavy burden. I look at it as a heavy blessing. And to be able to just walk out and experience that was a really, really cool moment. But I will say that I was so prepared, not to say that I had it all figured out, not to say that I have it all figured out right now. I won't ever have it all figured out. I'm always trying to learn, but I was so prepared coming here because of, what was poured into me by my mentors, and what they taught me, and kind of what they taught me to be prepared for. And then just being able to have a ton of responsibility as an assistant really kind of prepared me for this. And that's one thing that I try to do with my staff is, that should be your goal as a leader, is for your people to go get opportunities to run their own programs and to lead. And so that's what I try to do with my staff is, give them a ton of responsibility and give them autonomy within the program to kind of, be in charge of things and feel the responsibility of being in charge of certain things, so that when they get that opportunity, it's a smooth transition, just like it was for me. And I'm very, very blessed to have had those things poured into me.
I think that's great that, a lot of, like you said, we've had a couple coaches on the show the past couple of weeks, but they all are very big on just, like I said, communication, relationship, but just, it's bigger than me. It's the head coach's vision, and it's making sure that these guys on my staff, like you said, it's not my way or the highway, but how can I, hands and feet prepare you for your next thing, while also making sure that we're taking care of business right where we are. So I just love that all the head coaches that I've had the opportunity to interact with just kind of are all in that positive just mindset of iron sharpens iron. So I love hearing that. Now, you guys are in a newly renovated weight room, right? So
brand new. Hey, Ike, brand new. hey, Smo, was I one of the first non-Virginia people to lift in that thing?
You were, yes, sir.
Come on.
This guy's spoiled, man.
It's sweet, Ike.
Talk to us a little bit about what went into that. How involved were you in the process? I watched a few videos earlier, this week, just kind of seeing the layout and everything, just how you guys, start to finish. How involved were you in the design process, and what were you really wanting to captivate?
Yeah, great question, man. So I'll say first and foremost, I'll second what Max said. It is sweet. It is a great place to come to work every day. So we got a brand new football facility, whole football facility, not just weight room, everything, man. Locker rooms, coaches' offices, nutrition, dining facility, everything, man. It's unbelievable. And so to be able to walk in here every day, again, I'm blessed. I walk in every day, and there's not a day that I don't walk in that I'm not feeling blessed. Just, man, I get to work here. This is pretty dang cool. So, shout out obviously to Coach Elliott, but also to our AD, Dr. Williams. She's phenomenal and does a great job. Our fundraising arm of the athletic department, the board of rectors, everybody, board of visitors, and the rector there, they do a phenomenal job of making sure we have what we need. And so it was really cool when we got here. Actually, my first assignment from Coach Elliott, I was in the car the next day after he got the job. I got here that night. We went and got some dinner, and then he handed me architectural designs, and he said, "Hey, here's the architectural designs of the facility. Let's look through it and see how we want things laid out and any changes that we need to make." He said, we've got a meeting with the AD tomorrow to talk through all this. And so
hope you're ready.
So really, really cool. Hit the ground running, man. It was awesome. And so he, very blessed. He basically told me, "Hey, go design the weight room." let me know what you need help with, go design it. And so, all the meetings with, the architectural team and the design team, and then obviously, with William Strength, Total Strength and Speed, designing our equipment, and because we went custom on just about everything, to make sure that our weight room is, the best. That's what we wanted. We didn't want generic. We wanted the best, man. When you walk in here, we want you to know what we're about. We're about details, and we're about work, and we're about making sure that we give you everything you need to be the best you can be. So, and when you walk in our weight room, when you walk in our facility, weight room's right there. Like, it's the first thing you see. So you kind of know what we're about when you walk in as a program. When you walk in the facility, we're about work and we're about details. And so, yeah, start to finish, man. So where we are right now used to be an outdoor turf practice field right next to our indoor facility. And so our first year here, that first summer, we had the groundbreaking, and they started constructing the facility. And that was a super cool process to watch, for this thing to be, go from a practice field to the foundation being laid and then the building. And it's pretty cool because it's kind of aligned with, what we call the build. So we set our year up in 4 phases, and we call it the build. And the mentality is that we're building a house as a team. We're going to live in this house, during the season. And so for us, January through April, that's our foundation phase. And then May through July, that's the construction phase. And then you go into the showcase phase where it's, August through October, it's time to show the house off. People going to come check you and make sure you're storm ready. And then, you handle your business in the first 3 phases, then you get to move your house into championship subdivision during the championship phase. And so it was really cool to watch that whole process happen because our facility sits right at our practice field. Mm-hmm. So really cool. And right next to our indoor facility. So it's kind of this L shape of indoor, our facility, and the practice fields. And so, or this big square really. And so you saw it every day. And so it was a really cool thing to watch this thing be built every single day. And then once the building was built, then it was time to fill up the weight room. And so the whole process of the floor being laid and the equipment being put in, and, David Abernathy and his staff at Total Strength and Speed, William Strength, outstanding, man. Just the attention to detail and the work that they put in to make sure that this thing was the real deal. Just unbelievable. And it's, every finite detail. We've got power, run to the floor, and each rack is wired so that
the technology's sweet.
Yeah. So our technology is always, plugged in, and we have everything we need right there every day. We got an unbelievable, sound system, and connected TV system where, everything runs through, cloud and all that. We can have live leaderboards of our competition stuff on TVs, and, obviously our workout plans on TVs and different things like that. And, man, it's unbelievable. We got turf down the middle. We've got beautiful custom inlaid platforms. We've got, all the technology we talked about. Got, big old fat grip dumbbells, make sure those hands are getting strong, and cables, and, really every tool you can imagine. And then, the ceilings are tall, and there's 3 of the 4 walls are glass. So there's natural light everywhere. We have this, these big lateral opening doors that go out to our practice field, and we got a turf area out there as well. So it just flows really well with everything that we're trying to do. And it's a really, really cool deal.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm going to take a road trip.
You have to pull up. You got to pull up.
Yeah. Barbecue on me if you come.
That's right. The intentionality, the flow, the design. It's stunning, but also it's to work, right? Like it's a working office, and you guys did a really, really good job. And we walked through there last year, Coach, and it was really fun. You showed us all the details. It was an amazing thing. Speaking of intentionality, we'll kind of wrap with this. Very grateful for your time. It's not like you have been sitting here reciting Bible verses, but the Lord just shines out of you, man. And Ike and I are extremely strong in our faith, and I think we're both very similar to how you handle stuff. And one thing that you said that, I don't know, it jumped out more than the others, that you said you are responsible for their hearts, their souls, and then their body. Anybody else in the country that maybe doesn't understand that, they'd be like, what are you talking about? You're a strength coach. You do body. That's number 1. But you said the first 2 first. And I think that was intentional with how you are. How does your faith and how you have that as your backbone mold you to who you are, but also how you mold, these young men?
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing. It's the foundation of everything that I am. And I've just seen how God has worked in my life over and over and over again, and how he shows up every single day. And so faith is the most important thing for me. And, you talk about your why, it's something that people talk about a lot, your why or your purpose. And your why has to transcend whatever it is that you do. And your why is going to inform how you do things and what you do. And unfortunately the world, a lot of times in the world, it's all about the what, and then a little bit about the how and very little about the why. But you got to have that why every day, your purpose that gets you out of bed. And the first part of my why is Jesus's 2 greatest commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. So for me, the first part of my why is love God, love people. And that transcends anything, whether I'm a strength and conditioning coach or I'm doing some other career, whatever the Lord leads me to, my why has got to transcend that. And so I know that every day, when I wake up, I'm coming in here and I get to pour into these guys. And I'm not perfect by any means. And I think that's kind of part of it, is having the vulnerability and the transparency to show your players, kind of the real you, and show them that you're a flawed, fallen human being, just like we all are. And I've got to be bathed in the grace of Jesus every day. And so, just trying to set that example for these guys and not tell them what to believe, and obviously not treat anybody differently if they don't believe what I believe, but being firm in my faith and making sure that I'm living it out every day, because words are only words if they're not backed up by action. And so making sure that I'm living that out every day. And Coach Elliott is a man of faith as well, and so he does a great job of pouring that into our guys with the same mentality. I'm not going to make you believe what I believe, but I'm going to tell you what I believe. I'm going to pour into you every single day. And so that's what I try to bring every day. And one thing Coach Batson always taught me over the years was more is caught than taught, which means that people are going to watch you more than they're going to listen to you. And so for me, it's, just trying to live above reproach and trying to live a life that honors the Lord, owning it when I mess up, and living in the grace of the Lord there, but making sure that everything I do, I'm trying to honor the Lord and give him glory, because at the end of the day, when my life on this earth is done and I'm called home to heaven, there's not going to be a scoreboard. There's not going to be a win-loss record. There's not going to be, how many guys did you have squat over 600 pounds? There's not going to be how many 300-pound power cleaners did you have, or anything like that. Obviously, those things are important right here within the context of what we do. But ultimately, it's going to be about, hey, I gave you these young men and this staff that you were responsible for, this flock to shepherd. What'd you do with them? Is ultimately what it's going to be about. And so, like I said, I'm not perfect in that every day, but I sure do strive to be the best I can be and stay in the Word and stay in prayer and try to keep my priorities straight.
Come on,
yes,
baby.
Sir.
This is great. Yeah, it will. It really will. Coach, you're the best. We could go on for another hour plus, but we're so grateful for your time, man. Great to see you, and excited for this season. Excited for you guys.
I appreciate you guys.
Yes,
Thank you for the opportunity to be on and to talk about our program and the fellowship. And man, if you guys come to Charlottesville, please let me know. Would love to get a lift with you and get some barbecue.